Welcome, everyone. My name is Ruth Batista. I'm sure you know me from other events. I'm the Pedagogical and Professional Development Officer for eTwinning, and I'm here today to introduce you this great seminar, this great online seminar, which I hope it will be very useful for you for your work as teachers. But before we do that, I would like to give you some instructions on these tools, okay? Because I'm not sure if it's the first time or not that you are using this. So first of all, if you have problems with audio, you need to click on audio in the top bar and click on audio test. That's the first thing. If it doesn't work, log out and log in again. That's the second thing. Then, you see all these symbols. If you want to speak, you will not be able to unmute your microphone. You need to raise your hand, clicking on the little hand that you have there, and we will give you the floor. If you want to express yourself, you can click on the green symbol to say that you agree, on the red cross saying that you don't really agree. You can also express yourself by using the emoticons, the emotion symbols, the smiley faces. You can also ask us to go slower or faster, clicking in the arrows, just right next to the smiley faces. And also, we would like to inform you that this session is being recorded. So your questions and your answers will be recorded, and this will also be not a chat box, but this will be shared in the eTwinning portal later. So if you by any chance want to leave early or need to leave early or you disconnect for some reason, don't worry. We are recording this session to share with you later. And these are the basic instructions, which I hope we will manage to do it. So, to start, I would like to introduce our speaker, Jean-François Raffestin. I'm not sure if I pronounced it.
Yes.
If I pronounced it correctly.
Well, yeah.
Jean-François provides consulting and training, and he's a speaker in various events. And his main work focuses on interactive multimedia and communication domain. And he's today now here with us to speak about how to integrate visual communication in our schools, which I think for eTwinning teachers is very, very interesting because we mainly communicate online. And I won't waste the time of this seminar speaking because he's the most interesting speaker to listen to. So I'll give you the floor. And thank you for accepting this invitation to give this seminar to the eTwinning teachers. And I'll give you now the ball.
Okay. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this 1-hour webinar. My objective is really to help you, eTwinners, to understand what VC, and you're going to hear very often this acronym VC. It stands for video conferencing or visual communication or video communication, video call. It's interesting because whichever words you choose, you can use that acronym VC. So I would like to really help you understand what VC can bring to education, to K-12 education. We're not going to talk about higher education in universities and so on, because I guess it's not your business, right? So I'm going to explain the basics very briefly, only 2 or 3 slides. I'm going to present some usages, in fact, a lot of different type of usages of VC, visual communication or video conferencing, into the K-12 education world. And that's going to be the main part of the presentation. And then I will very briefly describe the VC setup, if you want to install VC in your school, the integration of pedagogy if necessary, and also the content provider aspect, because you need to be 2 at least to video communicate. So as I said, I'm going to use this acronym VC, which means, as I said, visual collaboration, video conferencing, or visual communication. And I'm going to start by video conferencing. Probably most of you know what this means because you might have already used video conferencing. It's really the capacity or capability to talk, to listen, to show, to see at distance. So at least you need to be two sides in different locations, whether in the same town or at 10,000 kilometers apart from each other, that doesn't matter. And you're going to talk and exchange and communicate all together. So the reason, before going into the other wording, what I will show you is what is basically a video conferencing solution. So I'm going to consider two sides. So do you see the mouse going over the slide? No, I guess I need to use the tools. Okay. So here you see something, right? You see an arrow. On the left side here, you have a site, whether it's a meeting room, whether it's a school classroom, whether it's, the office in which the teacher prepares courses or whatever. You have here another site at distance. In between those two, you will have a network. So I'm not going to go into details. Just let's say it's internet as such, right? So what do you need? First of all, you need to carry the sound, the audio, from one side to the next, to the other. So you are going to have microphone, like you see on the table here. There is a microphone, and on that room here, there will be also a microphone. This is to show you an example. This is the microphone of a Group Series 500 system from Polycom, which is one of the manufacturers. So you see, it's something that sit or stand in the middle of the table. If it's in the classroom, you will probably put it onto a chair in the middle of the students. This is going to pick up the sound. You have to return the sound into the room. You have to play the sound which is brought to you from the other side by the microphone, and this is going to be done by speakers. So most of the time, it's going to be the speakers that you have on the TV monitor. Or it might be speakers which are affixed onto the wall, next to a screen, a white screen, for example. So this is going to carry the audio, the sound, so you can talk and listen to each other, in the two rooms. We are video conferencing, so we are going also to carry the image of the people in the room. And this is going to be done through cameras. Usually we have camera here, for example, you have a camera which is sitting on top of that system. Here you have also a camera. This is going to pick up the audience which is in that room. As an example, this is a camera. So there are different types of cameras depending on the system that you acquire. You see, this is a camera. It's called a PT. That's important because it's the main difference between the professional systems and the Skype or Hangout or FaceTime systems. This camera is pan, tilt, zoom, which means it can pan like this, go to the room. It can tilt like this, and it can zoom 8 to 12 times. So you can really, in a classroom, you can really focus on one student or pupil, which would be speaking, for example, or you can pull back and show the complete class, the complete set of 20 or 30 students. So you're going to carry the video through the cameras, which are doing the pickup, and also you're going to have to display the image of the distant site into your room. So this is going to be done through screens, whether it's TV monitors, whether it's a video projector and a widescreen, or it could well be, because most of you probably have interactive whiteboards in some of your classroom, it could be the interactive whiteboard, which has a white surface and which has a video projector on top of it. So it will be able to show you the distant site. So that is really video conferencing. You can understand that there is a lot of processing, of coding, of decoding of that sound and image of that TV signal somewhat. So for this, you need a box, which is called a codec. So here, for example, you have a codec. This is a Telelab codec. This little device that will sit on top of a television monitor and will do all of the necessary coding, decoding. On the other end of the picture, on the right side, right left, you have another codec. This is, for example, an HDX from Polycom. I can show you another one, which is, for example, this is a group series. So it becomes smaller and smaller. This is probably, I don't know, maybe 3 to 4 kilograms, so it's not very heavy. It's small, as you can see. It has a couple of connectors in the back to connect the microphone, the display for the TV, and so on. So this is really the four important parts of a video conferencing systems are the codec, the camera, the microphone, as I showed, and also you need, most of the system will also have a remote control, just like a TV remote control, so that you can place a call, so that you can put the sound up or down, so you can end the call. There is a button here, for example, to end the call. So that's the four different parts which almost every system will contain when you acquire such a system. So this is video conferencing. One of the problem, obviously, sorry, excuse me. One of the problem, obviously, is the fact that we use this word conferencing, or a conference really is more like a person standing in a big room with a 200, 300, 400, 500 audience participants, and he's or she is speaking, standing up behind a lectern and speaking to an audience. But this is some sort of a one-way communication when you do a conference. So we said, in this situation, we are more communicating. Each of the two sides are talking to the other side, are showing things to the other side. There is an exchange between the two sides. So this is why sometimes we start referring this to visual communication instead of video conferencing or video communication. Basically, we're communicating using the video capability. And because I told you, there is a box called the codec who needs to do all of that coding, decoding, and so on, we realized through the years that the PCs now, the laptop, the Macintosh, and so on, are very capable now. They are so powerful that they are capable to do that coding, decoding. And also most of the laptops are now equipped with a webcam. I have a webcam on my laptop here by which you see me. So we now have the capability to do visual communication from a PC solution. We even know that mobile phones are very powerful. They are just like a little computer. We have now pieces of software that will run on such a mobile phone and allow you to connect visually for a visual communication session to connect to a room which is equipped. For example, here at the bottom right of my slides, you see I connected from my iPad, which I don't have here, but anyhow, on my iPad, I connected, and this is where I live, I connected to one of the classes in the FCL, in the Future Classroom Lab in Brussels. So, and this was an evening because obviously I didn't want to enter into any meeting, so I connected into that room. So this is visual communication. Sometimes we talk about visual collaboration. What is that? It's basically visual communication to which we have added a certain number of features, such as application sharing, such as the capacity to vote, such as the chat messaging capacity that you have used up to now to send some messages, including I see one coming from Spain right now. We have presence indication. We have presenter control. You've seen that Ruth has given me control over the slides. In a few minutes from now, I'm going to give her back control so that she can run the vote that we're going to do. We also have whiteboarding capability, for example, to place a little arrow on a specific position on the image. So this is really visual collaboration. Right now, we are in a visual collaboration session, with a little tweak, which is that because you're quite many people, like actually we have 85 people connected, obviously there is no way I could. You can see me, you probably see me and you see Ruth, but there is no way I could see 85 people on my screen. The pictures would be so small that, I couldn't realize any one of you. So it's visual collaboration, but I would say maybe only with one exception, that is, it's a one-way video somewhat, but it's a special, what we call webinar. So this is visual collaboration. So what I would like to do right now is go through first, we will have three vote sessions, if I might say, very short. But what I would like to do is ask you all whether you have ever used VC, whether it's video conferencing or visual collaboration. Please answer A if you have never used it. Answer B if you use it for professional activity, which means educational, because you are all teachers or headmasters. And answer C if you have already used VC for family or social usage, like using Skype to talk to parents or grandparents or children or whatever. If in case you have used it both for professional and family social, please answer B. So we are going to leave you something like a minute, because, you know, it's quite simple, A, B, or C, so that we can see what kind of audience we have actually listening to that seminar, attending that seminar. So the poll is going on right now. So we have actually, I don't know whether we can see the number of people that have submitted their poll.
I can tell you, we have 76% has completed.
Ah, good.
So maybe we can close.
Yep.
We have some coming.
So A, B, or C.
Okay.
Nobody should answer D. So what kind of result do we have, Ruth?
It's coming.
Oh,
10 seconds, and I'll show you in a minute.
Wow, that's superb. So we are
very interesting.
We are collaborating. You see. Aha. Yes. Wow. I'm quite impressed. So this means that quite many of you have already used visual communication. Most of you use it for, we have some, what is it? 37 out of 82 people said they've used it for professional usage. So this is very, very interesting. So in that situation, you know, I'm not going to say, okay, that's the end of the meeting, of the webinar, because you have already used it. But there are some people that did not use and probably needs to hear about it. But what's more interesting is I'm going to present to you a lot of different type of usages, and maybe some of you who already used video conferencing or visual communication might find some additional usages with the equipment that you already have. So let's go. Thank you very much for this first poll, having answered so quickly. We are going to go again with the next question. The next part of the presentation, and that's going to be the longest part. Sorry for that, but I hope it's going to be also very interesting. It's going to talk about VC for what kind of usages. And I have split the following slides in two sections. One is educational usages which really deal with education. And I want to get back into the how do I get back to the picture, anyhow, and social usages. So let's go into educational usages. The very first thing we have to remember is that you are teacher or headmaster. Your job is to teach, and you have students whose job is to learn, right? So one of the first usage which I would like to mention about visual communication or video conferencing is distant teaching. The capacity to have one, you know, we have had for centuries, for centuries, we have had a situation, a model by which we had what I call the 1-1-N, which is one teacher in one classroom and N students. With the advent of that technology now, we could have 1-N-N, i.e. one teacher, multiple classroom in which there are N students in each of those. And this is, for example, one case where this could happen is if you have insufficient number of students. The picture that you have here, you have a picture of, it's two colleges in a center of France. I forgot to tell you that I am French and living in France, talking from the center of France right now. We have two colleges which are in the Yonne department, which is in the center of France. It so happened that in the curriculum there was some German teaching or German classes, but in one of the colleges, the one that you see on the right of the picture, we did not have sufficient number of students to justify having a German teacher in that college. So what the department decided was to put video conferencing equipment in each of the colleges so that when it's a German, 1-hour German class, we have a connection being established between the two and eventually three, because there is a third college joining, whereby the one teacher that you see here on the left, let me show you, the teacher is here, right? The one teacher that you see here is teaching German to that class, but also to these students here. And you see these students see the teacher here at the top on the TV set. So that's one of the usages, distant teaching. There is another reason to use distant teaching. It's for geographical reasons. Let me give you two examples. One is in Germany. In Germany, a northern part of Germany called East Frisian Islands. They have 8 islands. On each island, there is a small school, but none of those islands are big enough in terms of number of students to justify having teachers of all the matters, you know, the math, the German language, the foreign languages, and so on. So what they decided was to put video communication equipment in each one of those schools, plus one on the continent, and this city in the continent is called Essen, E-S-S-E-N-S. And these schools now are considered as one virtual school. So when there is a teaching going on somewhere, any other school might connect to take advantage of that training. We have exactly the same in the west of France, Île-du-Ponant. We have 6 islands in which we have 88 students, and this is not enough to justify having a French teacher, a math teacher, a physical, chemistry teacher, and so on. So what they've done is they've put video conferencing equipment in each of these islands, and they interconnect those so that the kids on the islands do not have to take every morning a boat to come to the continent, and in the evening a boat to go back to the to their island, to where they live. So distant teaching, that's one example. Another example would be helping the handicapped. Can be a medical reason and a temporary reason. This is an interesting example. It's in a school called École Nationale Physique Chimie, Chemistry and Physics schools in south of Paris, and they connect to an hospital in Paris called Robert Debré Hospital, in which hospital they have dedicated one of the room as an office somewhat, with a video conferencing equipment, a table, 2 or 3 chairs, and when we have students hospitalized for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, for example, not if it's 2 or 3 days, but if it's a quite long period, what they do is they connect, you know, if, for example, here from 10 to 11, there is a chemistry class in that physical room, they bring that system that you see here, the video conferencing system, which is a TV, the codec and the camera are sitting on the top. It's on a small rolling cart. They bring this cart close to the teacher's desk so that the girl that you see in the picture in the hospital can see the teacher, can even see the teacher when she is writing on the blackboard, can see the teacher when she's doing some manipulation on the desk here, you see. And in addition to that, there is something which is quite interesting. These kind of systems here, the camera which is here, has a capacity to have pre-recorded settings so that the girl, by just switching on the button 1 or button 2 on the remote control, the girl can move the camera directly onto the students. So when the teacher asks one of the students to say something or to evaluate what he has learned from the lesson, she can look and see the student. The only thing that the students cannot do is see the girl because we don't turn around the television set. But apart from that, it's really interconnecting or making that girl feel like she is part of the class, even though she is in a hospital. Another example, this comes from Portugal. In Portugal, in deaf university for students which are deaf, don't speak, right? So what they do is they use video conferencing to allow for the teacher speaking on a specific subject and showing things. That teacher is connected by a video conferencing system to a person somewhere in a room or at home, and that person at home hear and see what the teacher is saying and transform that immediately and real time into the sign language, what we call the PSL sign language, so that these students in the school, in the university, deaf university, will see the sign and will be able to read and understand what's being said by the teacher because of that online translation somewhat. Other example, working together on projects. This is a project that was done between a school in Quebec, in Montreal, and a school in France. They wrote 7 different portions or sessions of a detective novel. They wrote a book all together, the kids from the 2 schools, by using electronic mail, but also by using video conferencing as a tool to see and talk and show things to each other. You can also connect with experts. This is another example from France. It's in a Dijon Academy. We have 3 colleges in which 23 students are interested or are working all together on a project that relates to polar and tropical explorations. So what they decided to do, they decided to connect one day, in fact twice over a 3-month period. They connected with Jean-Louis Etienne, which is a French expert, who has spent a certain number of months on this island, this Clipperton Island. This is an island which is about 8.9 kilometers, square kilometers, so it's a very small island, 12,000 kilometers from Paris. So this is really to show you that distance does not matter. Once you have established a communication between 2 sides, we don't care whether it's the room next door or whether it's just the other side of Earth. You know, it's not a problem. You know, you might see just you won't see it, by the way, a little delay in terms of movement, but distance is no more a problem with video conferencing or visual communication. So you can connect many experts, you know, into a given project or experience. Another educational usage, which is really very much used, is called virtual field trips. I don't know about you in all the different countries you're from, but I can tell you that in France, because I'm close to a college nearby, I know how difficult now it is to get students to go visit a site. Like in France, everybody goes to see the Eiffel Tower or go to see Versailles or whatever. But it's becoming very difficult because first you have to organize. It takes time. You have to book a bus to take the students to the place and bring back. You have to pay for the bus. You have to get a special insurance because you're taking kids out of the schools. You have to find parents to accompany the children, the students, you know, during this trip. So it's expensive, it's time consuming. So what's happening is that we have a certain number of companies or museum or zoo or government, for example, have set some sort of a capacity to connect to them using video conferencing or visual communication. This is, for example, the case of NASA Johnson Space Station, whereby you can connect and you will be able to see space ships. You will be able to talk to cosmonauts. You will be able to be explained how it works and so on. You can also connect, for example, with Robben Island, where Nelson Mandela spent a certain number of years. And you will talk to Lionel Davis, which is one of the inmates that was in prison at the same time as Mandela. You can connect to the Great Barrier Reef. You can connect to Melbourne Zoo, for example, to the New Bedford Whaling Museum to see whales, how they behave in the ocean. You can connect to the Guggenheim Museum in New York or to the Smithsonian or even to Versailles. I know I've discussed with some people in Versailles. They told me that they have quite often video calls with schools in the US, in fact, because they want to discover, you know, the castles in Europe, and they connect to Versailles. So this is really one of the main usages up to now of video conferencing into classroom. What I would like to do is show you, apparently it has disappeared, so I'm going to reload it. I would like to show you a short video. If I can get it. What's going on? Are you still there?
Yes.
Good.
Do you need my help?
No, I just, okay. Not because I don't see you anymore. I just see the chat, the polling. But that's okay. Don't worry. Okay, so I want to show a very short video. I hope it's going to work fine with the sound. Listen now. So this was just a very quick video. Pimple Ladies College is in Australia, and I was interested in showing this to you in a sense that by the end of the very short video clip, they talk about this connection to the Great Barrier Reef and having the kids in the class talk real time, live to a diver which is in the ocean, or where they put the fish in. I don't know what the word is in English, but in a zoo. So this was really, really interesting. Another kind of usage, educational usage, is the teacher's interaction. As an example, what you see on the left was in 2003 here. We had teachers all together coming from the UK, from France, from Germany, from Holland, from South Africa, and from USA. All of these teachers met during one discussion to look at how can we teach anti-racism. What can we do? How should we present it? What approaches should we use to teach our kids in school not to be racist, We also have teacher-to-teacher course preparation. I took an example here. We had two schools in the UK, Tipton and Cookwood, working together, two different teachers at distance, working together to prepare a new course. Also, another kind of usage, what I call administrative usage, would be a Slough school, which is nearby Windsor in the UK, was interviewing. They had an opening and they interviewed 3 applicants for that job in Cape Town in South Africa. So obviously you understand that these applicants are not going to take a plane to fly from South Africa to London just to have an initial interview. So the initial interview with all of these applicants was done by video. And then if something goes right in terms of, we think that person fits the job, okay, we ask the person to fly over and to come really physically. But the first interview was virtual via video conferencing. Another big usage is language practice session. Here is an example of Jargeau, which is the village just on the other side of the river. You see a class on the left, a classroom here, and the teacher right here. This is English practice session. They connect to a school in the UK, in Burnham, which is again nearby Windsor. And you see here the power of the camera, in a sense that we see the whole class here. At the bottom here, you have the teacher, and then you have all the students right there. And they, during 1 hour, the French kids will speak in English to practice, and the English pupils, students, will speak in French to practice their French that they're learning. Considering that that school in Jargeau, it's a college, considering that they have invested in a video conferencing equipment, they said, how can we make better usage of that investment, that money that we put into the system? So they said, why don't we also because we do teach English, but we teach German in our French college. So why don't we also connect to Germany? And here it's a connection of another class, another set of students connecting to a school in Germany. Here you see the classroom in Essen in Germany. That's the niche project we talked about a few minutes ago, about these 8 islands in East Frisian, north of Germany. We connect, something like once every few weeks, they do a connection in between the class, and they speak, the German students speak French, and the French speak German. So that's very, very useful in the sense that you see each other. You can eventually show things so that you can explain what it is at distance. Another usage, educational usage, is remote exam. I don't know about you in all your countries, but I can tell you in France, we have, at the end of the secondary education, we have baccalaureate, BAC, or Bachelor of Arts examination before you go into university. As part of that examination, there is a 20 minutes evaluation of your capacity as a student to speak English, to think, and to elaborate in English language. And believe it or not, but for each of the French students which are anywhere in the world because they are expatriate, they have to go for that 20-minute evaluation, oral evaluation. So we need to send a teacher. And this happened in something like 2 or 3 weeks in June, because that's the time where the exam takes place. We have to send teachers all over the world, in Singapore, in Mexico. It's costing an awful lot of money. So the French government decided very recently, in fact, the decision was taken and a law was passed very recently to allow for examination by video conferencing, because it's an oral examination. So here, that's an example of the teacher, as you can see here, talking to this youngster, which is in the Lycée Français de Singapore. He's in Singapore. So she asked, the teacher asked questions and asked the student to say something or to express himself in the foreign language. So that's another kind of usage of video conferencing or visual communication. So we have talked about distant teaching, support to handicap, collaboration on projects, connecting with experts, virtual field trips, language practice session, administrative tasks, remote exams. So that's what I would categorize as educational usages. But there are much more. And let's look at some social usages. Celebration. You all know that 9th of May every year is Europe Day. It's a day we celebrate Europe. An example, this was in 2011, you see, at lunchtime, during lunchtime, there was a connection between a certain number of schools in France, and they connected, I have some, okay, problem with some. They connected with Anne Guilleran, which is from eTwinning in Brussels. There was a French teacher that was in Warsaw, as you can see here. There was somebody in Greece, in Rhodes, somebody in France, MPs from the European Parliament. So all of these people were exchanging about Europe because it was Europe Day. You probably also know that every year we have what we call the European Day of Languages. On the September 26th of every year, we are supposed to celebrate the fact that we have different languages. So I don't know whether you do something. For those of you, the 45% who have already used VC for professional usage, but anyhow, you could use it so that, you know, you interconnect a certain number of classes, of students, and you, like in this academy or district, school district in south of France, in Montpellier, what they've done is they have done a quiz. It's a 20 questions quiz with A, B, C answers about languages, all the languages in Europe or in the world. So that's, again, made possible through the fact that we have video conferencing capabilities in between the various schools. Another kind of social usage would be celebration of anniversaries. This is an example whereby a school in the UK called me, because I am, you know, in video conferencing, but I am also in the school locally. They called me and they say, we are celebrating this year the 40th anniversary of our school. Is there anything that you could do from France? And I said, that's an interesting idea. Let me think about it. I put some thought into it, and I convinced a local association here in my village, which is in the floral art activity. I said, could you design the logo of that British school using flowers? And they said, why not? So for 1 hour, we had a connection between that room here, in the middle of France, nearby the River Loire, with these ladies, and a couple of men also, but having a lot of different type of flowers, little pins, and so on. And they realized in front of the audience that was in the UK, but I mean, it lasted for 1 hour. So the people were coming in and out the room. They were going to different booths, during the celebration. But anyhow, at some point in time, they were coming into the room and looking at the work at these women developing that logo, as you can see here. So this is the logo being made with flowers and pins, and this is the real logo here that you see on that side. So that's another example of something you can do when you have the capability to talk, to listen, to see, to show at distance, and when distance doesn't matter. Another example, this is an interesting one. I heard that in the UK, there is something called the International Art Week. Every year, I think it's around March, or January or February, early in the year, every British school is supposed to tell or to inform their students about art in other countries. So the headmaster called me and said, "Do you have any artists in your village?" I was not too sure, but I finally found 3 painters. These are the ones that you see here, 3 painters. We decided to run a 1-hour communication with that class here in the UK, in Burnham. And what we did is for about half an hour, we get these 3 painters to explain, show 1 or 2 of their paintings that you see here in the back, you see. They did show some of their paintings, but also they explain when did they start painting, how do they paint, outside or inside, through pictures or photographs. Do they paint with watercolor or with oil? I mean, just explain their pleasure of doing some painting. And in addition, we decided that at the end of that, or for the last 20 minutes of that 1 hour, we would have one of the artists run a painting session at distance. We said one of our artists will get your kids in the UK to draw a rooster. So he stands in front of his paperboard, as you can see here, and he said, first of all, you do a circle that's going to be the body of the rooster. Then you do a smaller, on top you do a smaller circle, and that's going to be the head. And then you draw 2 lines to connect the head to the body. And then you draw the feet, and so on. So for about 20 minutes, he explained to the kids at distance what they had to do. And look at the result. This was really impressive. First of all, we were very much impressed because every kid in the school had an iPad, which I can tell you it's not always the case in schools and classes nearby. But anyhow, each of the kids has an iPad. As they showed us through the capacity of the video, which allowed to show things, they showed us what they had done through the advice or directives of that painter here. So look at these different type of roasters. That was really nice. This one is nice. So this is another kind of thing that we are able to do, by using VC. And last usage I would like to bring, this is in Spain, Galicia in Spain. We had a connection between a class and Father Christmas in Lapland. We have, and I assume that there are no little kids on this call. So it's a company in Lapland which is really physically in north of Finland, and they have a video conferencing capability, and they have some of their employees which are wearing a bird and a white bird and so on, and they talk to the children. Eventually, you can get the children to send a letter to Father Christmas, and he will talk live on video to some of the kids saying, "I'm not sure I understood exactly whether you want a red or a blue bicycle, blah, blah," and so on. So that's very, very interesting for children. That's very motivating. So this was the usage part of that session. I would like to get into another poll, another question, which is, if you have, and we have had 37 people answering that they used already VC for professional activity, for education. Did you use it for language practice session, or course preparation, or virtual field trip, or special event, or any other usage that I might not have brought in my presentation, please answer F if you have used it for several of these different type of usages and applications. So basically, give us an idea of what you are using VC for in your personal activity, professional activity. So let's go into getting this poll. So Ruth, everything is okay?
Yes, about 71% has already answered.
Wow.
There are several coming in, so let's just wait to.
Yeah, we might have to
minutes.
give you a little bit more time in the sense that you need to think of what you have used VC for, but that could be quite interesting to see the type of usage that is predominant up to now.
Okay, I'm going to close the pool now.
Okay.
And share with you the results.
Wow. So it's pretty mixed type of answers. Apparently special event, okay. Several of the above. Special event, we have 17% of people. So I don't know exactly whether special event in your mind, for those who answered, is quite the same as what I presented, this celebration, this Europe Day or this Language Day and so on. Language practice is also quite important. So that's what I thought, language practice is really, because in every country, everybody has to learn other languages, English, and most of the time you have to learn a second language, whether it's, whichever language it is. But anyhow, that's really helping kids, at least here, because one of the problems with language practice is that very often, like in my college here, when we have English teaching, all the kids hear their teacher. So they hear only one sort of English, the English of their teacher. When they start talking to other kids, they have all kind of accent. Kids speaking very fast, some others speaking slowly, kids having a very strong accent. So this is really good to prepare the kids with hearing and understanding the language. So thank you very much. Ruth, one question. Do everyone see the answers?
Yes, everyone can see the answers.
Okay, good. Okay, so you can have an idea of what's being answered. That's good. Okay, so let's get back to the rest of the presentation. I see that we're only 14 minutes left, but anyhow, this was the most important part. I really wanted to get you to understand that we can do many things with visual communication, and probably more than just what I said. But anyhow, so let's very briefly talk about setting up VC. It's a solution, but before getting into the setting up of the solution, I want to bring one point, which is, in my opinion, very important. There are two completely different domains of VC solution. One is what we call proprietary systems. That's the Skype, the FaceTime, Hangouts. These are systems which basically talk to the same kind of system. You go from Skype to Skype or Hangout to Hangout, but you cannot talk from a Skype to a FaceTime or from a Hangout to an MSN and so on. And on the other side, you have what we call professional standard-based systems. So obviously, you have to buy them, whereby Skype is almost free, or it's free somewhat if you use internet and your PC and have a webcam and a speakerphone. You have then on the other side what we call professional standard-based systems, and that's just a list of some of the suppliers, manufacturers like Avaya, Aver, Telelab, Cisco, Lifesize, Polycom. A lot of companies are offering video conferencing or visual communication or visual collaboration, like this session is run with WebEx from Cisco. I'm not going to enter into all the details that you see on that slide. One point I want to make is that here, that, let me get back onto the arrow here, the 8 to 12 Zoom. One of the big advantage of professional standard-based system is the fact that you can show a complete classroom. At the same time as when I mentioned this preset capacity, you can also show one student talking or explaining something or showing something. Whereby when you're on Skype or Hangout or anything using the camera of your laptop, here you see me right now, but you know, if we were 3 or 5 or 6, we would not be able to show all the audience to you, right? There is a limitation in the number of people that can sit behind a webcam. So this is one of the big advantages. The second big advantage is all these systems talk to each other. When you're in a professional world, if you want to video call someone, just ensure that he or she has what we call an H323 system. That's a very strange word, but remember that, H.323. That means that if your system is H.323 compatible, you will be able to video call with anybody else, which has also an H.323 compatible system. This is very, very important. So let me just give you a very quick example of a couple of systems. On the very top here, you have this Tele HD Pro, and I wrote the website of the company if you want to go and look at more information about these systems. But anyhow, this is one example, Tele Pro. This is Aver Class HD. This is another kind of system. This is a life-size system, Icon 600. This is the Polycom system. That's the one I showed you, the camera and so on, the microphone. That's the Group Series 500 from Polycom. Here on the top, on the bottom left, you have the SX20 from Cisco. So obviously, each of these manufacturers will have many, many versions of their systems at all kind of price range. I just showed you here a picture of a system that would be quite adapted to a classroom with something like 20 to 30 students in a class. I just want to get back into that. Just one thing, which I don't mention price, but to let you know, all of those systems are way below $10,000. Some of them are quite below 5,000 euros. Sorry, I said dollars. I would say euros. So you might say, yeah, but that's expensive. So I would like to show you something quite interesting. On a website where you can go after this webinar, it's called www.vcfl.net. It's a website run by a lady called Meena Patel in the UK. On that website, you will see that very text that you see here. It's a school in the London area where they have decided to use very intensively video communication. In the last, as you can see here, in the last 18 months, we have connected over 32 times with content providers and other schools. Just through connecting with museums nationally, just with the museum, not with the other schools and so on. We have traveled nearly 2,000 virtual miles, which means that they have visited a lot of places without moving physically from the college where they are or from the school. And what's even more interesting on that site is you will see that here again the source is this, and I want to give credit to Meena for having put this on the website. This is quite interesting. In that school, Island Schools, they have put together that spreadsheet that shows what they've done. For example, here 5, they took for 3 sessions students to National Archives, in the UK. They did 9 times go to year 4, 5, 6 students. They went to the British Museum in London, and so on. You can see the various virtual trips, virtual field trips that they did. For each of those trips, they calculated the mileage that they have avoided. They calculated the cost of the coach if they had traveled to that place. The travel time, the cost of the teacher, which is in that bus, and when he is in the bus, he is not teaching, so it's a cost, and so on. And what's interesting is for 1 year, they came to a saving of £12,726, which is, no, sorry, £10,000, which is about 12,000 euros. So by having a video conferencing system, by very often organizing field trips to go visit places virtually, they saved or they did not spend 12,000 euros. So you see, with that amount of money that you can save, it very, very quickly give you return on the investment, on the money being invested in acquiring a VC system in your school. So in terms of logistics, sorry, every one of these professional systems will come with a codec, as I mentioned, the codec, which is the system that do the coding, decoding, and exchanging of the sound and image. You will have the microphone, you will have the camera, you will have the remote control. Everything is here, except what you need to add is a projection and the sound restitution capability, i.e. the speakers and the projection, video projector on a whiteboard or interactive whiteboard or TV monitor. So that's basically what you need. I'm not going to go any further. This could be, if you're interested, maybe next year could be the subject of a further online webinar in 2015. If you go into distant teaching, you might have to consider some possible changes or adaptation that need to be done to your course content, to your course curriculum, and so on. So just for your information, I have developed, and I'm not here to sell it, obviously, but I just want to let you know that there are a couple of things to be considered when you are doing distant teaching or distant learning for the kids. There are 4 domains to consider: the establishment, which is the school in which you install video conferencing, the teachers, the students, and the content being presented by teachers to the students. And for all of these 4 domains, what has to be done or be taken attention at the initial phase when you install the system. Before you start a course, for each course that you start using video conferencing, you need to do a couple of things before you start your course, during your course, because you have to realize if you teach at distance and you have 3 classes with students in each of these classes, the teacher is only in one of those 3 classes. Obviously, there is a psychological difference in the kids. Some of them have a teacher in front of them, the others just see it on a screen. So it is not exactly the same attitude that the students have, whether they are with the teacher or without. So all of these things has to be taken into consideration. And here again, that could be the subject of a further information or webinar or conference or whatever. And last, I see it's slide 56, so we have 4 minutes left. But then we stay online for a question-answer session. But I just obviously wanted to let you know that you cannot video conference by yourself, right? It's not worth anything. You need to have something in front of you. You need to be 2 at least, to VC, right? So how can you find partners to do video conferencing or web conferencing or collaboration? Just first, go and talk into your district or academic environment. There might be schools nearby that are interested in doing some connections, for example, to preparing course altogether. Or for distant teaching, a college nearby your college or your school might be lacking some teachers on some matters, and you might want to get their kids or students connect virtually to your teacher because you have that teacher, you have that matter being taught in your school. Check also with local regional authorities. They might, for example, that's the case, department in France where they said we don't have enough students, German learning students in one college, so we're going to invest. It's not the college who invested. It's the department. It's the local government that decided to put money, so I have to save the job of that teacher and allow also the students to continue learning German. Hospital, this link between schools and hospital for kids which are, temporarily impaired. That's something you need to check. Many hospitals today have visual communication capabilities. Local association or twinning committees for celebration. You've seen when I talked about these painters, these artists painting, or when I talked about this floral art association doing a logo for an anniversary of a school. This was done by discussing locally with association and the twinning committee of our village. Could be professional network. We have LinkedIn, in which there is a section for education, but there is CapSpace, there is obviously eTwinning, which allows you to collaborate, to find partners for projects and so on. And by the way, I have to tell you that there will be, and here I'm very careful, I'm reading my document here. Today, eTwinning does not offer video conferencing capabilities, but be aware that it's going to change. Good. eTwinning Live will be launched next September, and it will tightly integrate a video conferencing system, still to be chosen. So next September, as an eTwinner registered to eTwinning, you will be able to potentially video talk, not using Skype, but using an H323 system loaded on your PC software or video conferencing system that you might have in your school. You will be able to communicate through eTwinning with another eTwinner to work on a project or whatever. And such video conferencing capability will also be available for TwinSpace and for Groups, the other platforms used in eTwinning. I needed to be very careful in what I'm saying here, and I was reading a memo I received from the eTwinning team about this subject. So be aware that there will be a video conferencing capability soon, when I say soon, next school year, offered with eTwinning. And last, we have content providers catalog. There are Janet is the National Research and Education Network in the UK. We have Renater in France. I mean, very many countries we have companies or association or offices, governmental offices that provide a catalog of what we call content providers. Content providers, that's the NASA, that's the British Museum, that's the Versailles, that's the Robben Island I mentioned, the Melbourne Zoo, that's the Smithsonian. All of those are what we call globally content providers. They are companies, organizations, museums, zoos, sites, tourist sites, which have equip themselves with video conferencing capabilities and accept to do connection with schools. So, to end this seminar before getting into a communication session, I would like to say we need you. We need you all, teachers and headmasters and principals that are attending this webinar. We need you to help students, your students, enter the 21st century education. We'd like to say two things. One is, that today, the amount of knowledge has considerably increased, and we know new things every day. With the fact that everything is globalized now, we go on to the outside planets and so on. So there is no way, books. Obviously, once a book has been imprinted, it stays as it is. It's not being updated. We tend to use audio because it was quite easy to produce an audio tape, but this is disappearing because we don't see things, we just hear. Video is going to be the tool for carrying information over the next centuries. Video is important. Second, when you talk about the 21st century skills which are necessary for kids to be able to later go into the professional world and find a job and do a good and interesting job, amongst those 6 skills which have been defined by this ACTS 21 organization, there is communication and there is collaboration. So communication and collaboration are important. Video is becoming more and more important, and with video conferencing, with visual communication, with visual collaboration, you have it all. So please do all what you can to progressively try to get that solution or capability into your school environment. So I would like to ask you a last question, last vote. If you have used VC in your job, which is the case for some of you, for a good number of you, which tool, so it might be a bit complicated, but which tool, I just want an A, B, C, D answer. A, if you have used a professional H323 appliance, something hardware that goes on to like a Polycom, Cisco, Lifesize, Aethra, Tenberg, Huawei, and so on? Or B, did you use a piece of software on your PC, but not Skype? A piece of software like PVX from Polycom, like Movie from Tenberg, like Jabber from Cisco, like ClearC from Lifesize. So it's standard software that goes on a PC that use your webcam on the PC and the power of your PC, but potentially connect to H323 appliances. Or C, did you use a collaboration tool like WebEx, same time from IBM, Link from Microsoft, WebEx from Cisco? Or last, D, did you use proprietary software, Skype, Hangout, FaceTime, CVOG, Flash Meeting, and so on? So that question might be a little difficult. You might not be totally aware of exactly what was involved in your VC session. But anyhow, if you can answer, that would be quite interesting to see what kind of tools have you been using in those experiences that you've already done in your school with visual collaboration. So thank you very much for answering that question, and then we go into an open discussion.
Okay, I'm closing the poll. So you can now see the results.
Yeah. Okay. So, a certain number of you are not totally sure, I guess, about what you've been using. But there is one thing which is very significant: is almost no one of you have used these so-called H323 solutions. These solutions that will allow you to connect with any manufacturer, with any company. For example, you can connect to Airbus. Whereby if you have some science classes, you could connect to Airbus or to a car manufacturer, Mercedes or whoever else. You could connect to get some engineers to bring some expertise into your class, or for kids to discover what's being done in these companies. But apparently you've been very often using proprietary software. Maybe one of the reasons is that it's free, obviously, and that's obviously a big advantage. This software being free of charge, so it doesn't cost money for the company. So interesting. Thank you very, very much for this information you provided us. What I would suggest, Ruth, if it's all possible, is to go now to thank the people that have attended, if some of you need to go now, but for all of you who want, I stay online to answer any questions that you might have.
Yes, you can raise your hand or you can write your question in the chat box. For the moment, we have a question from Maria Natalia Cotto. Where does
just a question. I don't see you. I'm still on the. Sorry for that, but I cannot see you or the person calling. How do I get onto the get back? I have actually my screen says participant, chat, Q&A, polling. How do I get back to seeing the the participants and the video and so on?
You need to click on participants.
That's so simple. I should have known that. Sorry for that.
No
okay,
problem.
so what question do we have?
So we have one question from Maria, but maybe she can ask the question herself. Do you want to ask Maria Natalia Cotto? If yes, just click on the hand or write something in the chat. Okay. Okay, I'll unmute you, and you can ask your question directly. Let me try to find you because you are a lot of participants. Okay, now you can ask your question. You can speak, Maria.
Where does OVO go?
Sorry?
Where does OVO go?
OVO? Okay.
I'm not sure I understood the question.
So it's a kind of software that is used to video conferencing.
So that's what you're using? That's what you say?
Yes, I've used it once or twice.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure.
And you're happy with it? this a question, or you were just saying that you're using?
No, it's a question.
Yeah.
I believe Maria wants to know in which of these tool can fit, right?
Right.
Okay.
And so can you say it again, the name of the tool, because I didn't.
OV.
OV. I didn't know this tool.
I didn't know. You know, something which is important to say. Today, we have a profusion, because obviously everybody goes into providing with video capability, video communication or conferencing capability. We have hundreds of new pieces of software coming, you know. So I honestly do not know all of these pieces of software. The very first and important question you need to ask yourself, if you want to know how much you can communicate with others, is software standard-based, i.e., is the software H323 compatible? If the software that you use is H323 compatible, no problem. You can connect to any content provider. I hear myself. I have echo. You can connect to any other system in the world, in as long as this other system is H323. Sorry. If you connect to a place like CapSpace, it's the equivalent of eTwinning somewhat. Excuse me. But it's mostly American schools. You will see two words which are appearing almost all the time. One is H323, which means that the system will connect through the internet. You might see also H320. This means that the system do not connect through the internet, but connect through what we call ISDN, which is a digital telephone network. This ISDN has almost disappeared from all over Europe. The only countries in the world today which are really still using ISDN a lot are Japan and India. So obviously Japan means quite a lot of people. India, it's billions of people, you know. But I'm not sure that European schools very often connect with India or Japan. So if you connect within Europe, or if you connect to content providers in the US, you need to be H323. So with this OVO piece of software, check with whoever or go to the documentation and find out whether it is H323 compatible. If that's the case, you can connect to anyone.
Okay, I think we have another question from Adriana. I'm going to unmute you. You can ask the question, Adriana. Adriana, we cannot hear you. Can you type the question in the chat box, please? Okay, she said that the only problem with these tools is that they take a lot of time. Not sure if this was just a comment or she wanted to ask anything else, but if yes, please write in the chat box.
Yeah, it all depends what you mean by taking a lot of time. It is true that if you want, for example, a language practice session, you should not, as a teacher, come with your class directly into the room with the equipment and start talking to the other class. You need to prepare yourself. You need to prepare the questions, the way it's going to happen, who is going to talk when, and so on between you and the other class, right? So there is a preparation which is needed. But I would tend to think that the preparation is needed anyhow. And it would be even more time-consuming if you had to go physically to the UK to get your kids to speak better English, or to go to Germany to get your kids to speak better German, or to get to Italy or Spain to get your students to speak better the language. So I'm not sure exactly what you mean by taking a lot of time, but you know, depending on what you want to do, you are going to, I'm sure you're going to get benefit in terms of time on a long term basis. Obviously, if it's just one call, if you do one call, it might take a bit of time to prepare, and you might think that it's time-consuming. Also, what you maybe need to do is to get some help from outside the school world. For example, here in my village, I'm living in a village which is about 3,000 people, so it's a small village. I am somewhat the expert, so I am helping the schools. There is a school right on the other side of the street from this building where I'm calling. I help the schools do these language practice sessions. I did help the eTwinning association. So I'm not saying that you can find a person capable of running the VC system in every village, every place, every school, and so on. But most likely, you could probably find someone through the parents, for example, that are working in companies. I'm sure they are using video conferencing because many companies now in the world are using video conferencing. Most likely, you could get some help so that it is a bit less difficult or less time-consuming.
Okay. The comments are that your examples were very good and that all the questions were answered. I'm not sure if anyone else has any other question. I think we could go for the last question. A lot of people are saying goodbye, which we understand. We took over 15 minutes more than expected.
You're right. Yeah. You're more than welcome.
Can you all listen to the seminar? Okay. Don't worry. We understand that some people had some problems. We will share this recording very soon in the eTwinning portal, so it will be accessible to everyone. Okay?
We listen.
Okay. So if you don't have any other questions, I just want to thank you to Jean-François Raffestin for this very interesting seminar, and
welcome. Thank you.
I hope to cooperate with you in the future.
1 hour session.
Yes, certainly.
Good, super. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and goodbye.
So we're people from everywhere. Wow, interesting.